And joining us now to make sense of it all is former President Trump's attorney, Alina Habba. Alina, good to see you, and thanks so much for taking the time here. So here we are today, trying to make sense of it all here, trying to separate facts versus some of the information out there that may be true, that may not be true. For instance, we know that CBS's Norah O'Donnell put out that the FBI was not in possession of those passports. Yeah. That was false. We know that from the documentation that was provided, and we know that the FBI has returned those passports. What's new in this?
Every day there's something new. As you stated, there's a lot of fake news, which isn't surprising. They had taken his passports. They were returned, is what I'm understanding now, but they were taken. We did release, which is ridiculous that we even had to release because of this fake news media, but we did release the email from Jay Bratt admitting that they were taken and that he would give them back. Other than that, the president's position, the same as what I would advise him, is to ask them to uncover everything so that we can see what is going on. I understand the witness protection issue, but at the same time, these witnesses are truly not going to be concealed for very long. That's just not the nature of the DOJ and the FBI, and unfortunately our country. There's always leaks. You know, I've dealt with that even with local law enforcement. There's leaks when there shouldn't be. So I think it's in the best interest so that the country can get comfortable to see what the basis was, especially from somebody who is cooperating, who was working with them, with his attorneys. This is not a reason to be blindsided.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue with this story again, the FBI raid there and what was taken there, not the New York story that's listed on the screen, so that's incorrect. I do want to point out this, that we know, again, what was pointed out, that there were 11 sets of classified materials. There's some argument of if there was declassification to these or if there was not. There also is this, that there were materials taken of attorney-client privilege. Can you comment on that? What are the legal options for the former president at this time? Obviously, the FBI had their search warrant to be able to go in there, have that authority. But as far as what was taken, tell me where that stands and what specific actions that Trump could take at this moment.
So there's a couple issues, right? We have this list. It's very vague. It's intentionally vague because if there is classified information, which I do not believe there is, but I was not the attorney handling this, frankly. But if there was classified information, let's say, then any president would work. This is a very normal system. The president leaves, they declassify it, and let's say there's something NARA wants back. They work with them to get it back. It happens all the time. It's a very normal, routine thing. What they have done is take something that is incredibly routine and make it a public spectacle. Why? Because in November, we have a midterm election and the Democrats are not leading. We have inflation, we have issues because of President Biden that have really caused a problem for them. But the problem that we all have here is very simple. Even if there was classified nuclear codes, as they say, which I would be shocked, but even if there was, when you are cooperating, there is no need to send in 30 FBI agents with guns into somebody's home, let alone a former president. Doesn't make sense. So his options are, he's got a legal team he's put together and they're going to deal with everything as they should. There should be an independent special master that would be assigned to make sure that everything is going copacetically. Although I've heard that the Department of Justice is already saying that they're fighting that. They don't want an independent special master. That's concerning for me. It should be concerning for everyone. They would be confidential, and they would just make sure that everything goes straight and narrow.
Really quickly, if I can, because I'm out of time with you, Alina, I wanted to ask you this. There's been a lot of back and forth of what the attorneys present. I know that you claim that you were not there. You were not the one handling there at the estate. But have you spoken with the other attorneys there? Were they able to witness any of the surveillance footage that was going on while the raid was happening? I know they were asked to stay off premises, but there was some reporting that some of the attorneys were able to watch this on CCTV. Is there any truth to that?
So there is some CCTV, but remember that it's for entries and exits. It's not the entire premises. These people were in Melania's closet. They were in his basement. They were in places that I've never seen. I mean, they were in the bowels of Mar-a-Lago, and there are not cameras. There's cameras on every property. I mean, I have cameras at my house. But that does not mean that they watched the raid. This is another misreporting. Nobody got to watch it. They made sure, they asked for the cameras to be off in the spots that they were looking. So even the locations that had CCTV, they're not really telling or compelling. They're just egress and ingress.
It's very important to get the facts out there in the truth, most importantly, and Alina helping us to do that. Alina Habba, good to see you. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Got it.